another Seattle Seahawks post from the Seahawk Boys' fearless and brilliant YouTube channel. I'm Mike Barra, Seahawk Boy Mike. Great to be here with you guys. Just wanted to say hi. And, we're a week away from the NFL draft, and I think we're going to be doing mocks every day. I listened in a lot of serious NFL radio today. I didn't hear any new rumors. Um, Things are still interesting out there. Things are still exciting out there, and nobody knows what's going to happen. So I think there's a few things that are commonly accepted. For instance, that the number 4 pick is available that I don't necessarily think are true. So what I thought I would do is come in here and do 2 rounds. We'll pick for every team. We'll go through their needs. We'll go through their wants, and we will, of course, always do so with a Seahawk perspective. We'll look at it from the way we would like to do things here at SeahawkBoy.com. Now, of course, as you guys all know, I have a little bit different perspective on what the Seahawks need and how to make them back into a championship winning team. Truth is, we don't know what John Schneider and Mike McDonald want to do. We have no clue. We're about to find out in a week, but let's hope it's not the same old shit that we've been putting up with for the last 9 years, really, because even though the last 2 drafts were better than the previous 7, they aren't good. They just suck less. All right, we're back. We're ready to go. And once again, of course, this is the channel that offers you a different perspective than almost any other channel on the web. The only other channel that comes close is Rob Staten's Seahawk blog, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, and the Rob Staten channel. He's the only one who gives you a little bit more of a perspective, but even he thinks the Seahawks are going to draft an offensive lineman or an edge guy in the draft. I'm not sure that's true. And partly his information is the reason why I think that. I mean, he had I want to say Jim Nagy is the guy's name, who's runs the Senior Bowl, and Rob mentioned in his live stream the other day with Jeff Simmons, and I'm going to have to replay that at some point, that he doesn't think the Seahawks are going to take an offensive lineman, and he doesn't think the Seahawks are going to take a defensive lineman or an edge guy. And then Rob asked him, well, who do you think he's going to take? And he said, oh, I can't tell you that. So I think everything's up in the air, and what we're going to do is we're going to flow through a mock draft simulator and see what we come up with. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the mock draft stuff is really skewed because of the way that people have players graded. Let's go swing over and take a quick look at Rob's horizontal board itself. This is pretty interesting, and of course the quarterbacks are blocked out. But if you look at the horizontal board, Caleb Williams is blue chip. Jaden Daniels is legit round 1. Everybody else, Penix, Rattler, May, McCarthy, Bo Nix, are all second-round picks. I don't agree with that consensus. I don't agree with that opinion by Rob, but he knows a lot more about these things than I do. But if you look at the players that are considered blue chip, it's Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Roman Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Troy Fatanu, Talise Fuaga, Chop Robinson, Jared Verse. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blue chip guys. 10 blue chip guys. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, if you look at the consensus mock draft board over at the NFL mock draft database, you can see it's pretty much the standard stuff at the top. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Romo Dunze, all those guys, yada, yada, yada. Penix goes 13 in mock draft popularity to the Raiders, which would make me sad. It would make Seahawk Boy Mike sad. The consensus big board, which is even a little bit more interesting, is kind of the same stuff, but it's got guys rated in different places. And I think the key for the Seahawks is that a lot of teams or a lot of evaluators don't seem to think that Troy Fatanu or Talise Fuaga are really all that highly rated. Fuaga's 15th, Fatanu's 19th. There's a lot of guys that are in this range that they'll really, to be honest with you guys, those are the last two guys that could become elite that are non-quarterbacks in this draft. So if they're both gone by the time the Seahawks pick, then you're stuck with somebody like Byron Murphy, who, what do you need him for if you've got a bunch of other, you've already got Draymond Jones, you got Jaron Reed, you got Hankins that you recently signed, you got Leonard Williams. What does Byron Murphy bring to you besides the fact that he's younger and cheaper? I don't know. I don't know how that helps the Seahawks win more games. But again, we want to come out to once again looking at exactly what the Seahawks do have in this draft. They've got 16 in the first, 81 in the third, 102 in the second, 118 or 102 in the fourth, 102, 118 in the fourth, 179 in the sixth, 192 in the sixth, and 235 in the seventh. So I guess the common tankathon mock draft selections are Liatu Latu and Cedric Van Pran for those first couple of picks. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. The 2024 Tankathon big board again has a lot of guys going. Everybody has Brock Bowers going to the Jets at 10. I mean, like everybody. Not everybody has all the quarterbacks going that high in this particular draft. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think as you look at a team like the Cardinals. Before we get into this draft, let's look at the Cardinals. They've got 2 picks in the first round. They got 4 and 27. They got 35 in the second round, one of the early second round picks. They got 3 third round picks, 66, 71, and 90. They got a fourth round pick at 104. They got 2 fifths, 6th, and a 7th. They are loaded, and the value in this draft is this first 100 players. That's really where there's not a lot of depth beyond that. So, keep that in mind as we go through this draft. Keep that in mind what the Cardinals actually have, because they're going to be key players how this whole thing evolves. All right, let's move over to the mock draft simulator. Let's get started. We're going to use the Sports Skeeta simulator this time. It's not going to really matter because we're going to pick our own players. We're going to go for 2 rounds. We're going to select for every team, and we are going to allow trades, and we're going to go ahead and enter the draft. Let me just make sure it's up on the screen. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so what are the Bears going to do at number 1? Everybody assumes Caleb Williams. A week ago, it seemed like there was going to be some problem with that. Now, the Bears need more picks. So the question is, do the Bears trade out of the first pick and Caleb Williams, or do they trade out of their ninth pick? And if they trade out of their ninth pick, they're going to move down probably a few spots and pick up something else. We shall have to wait and see on that. But um, we're not going to assume that they have a deal. They've only got 4 picks. If you look at the Bears, well, they got 2 picks in this draft, but they've only got 4 picks overall. Let's go back to the team in question. Yeah, the Bears have. We share this tab. The Bears have 1,975 and 122. So they have 4 picks in the top 125. That's not bad, but that's also not going to be enough. So do they trade out of the number 1 pick? I don't know. I think they should. I think Caleb Williams is a flake. I don't think he's going to be a star. I think he's Cam Newton waiting to happen, a guy who has great physical ability, but will never be a great football player and will never win you a Super Bowl. However, we're going to assume that with this draft, at this point, a week away, we're going to assume that they're going to stick and pick and take Caleb Williams, because I think their fan base would be in revolt if they ended up with Drake May. Washington, it's pretty well set. They're going to go Jaden Daniels at number 2. There was a, press conference today where they basically said, hey, we're not moving out of this pick. We're not taking anybody else. They didn't say they were taking Jaden Daniels, but they came pretty close to it. Now it gets really interesting because this is where somebody could trade up. with the Patriots. The Patriots need a quarterback, but are they really sold on Drake May? Um, I think that's shaky. I think Drake May is more of a guy you take in this range, 10, 11, whatever. But let's see. Let's make a trade proposal because let's say the Vikings really, really want Drake May, and the Patriots may not think he's that great. But if they trade down, they're going to lose their chance to take a quarterback. So let's make a trade proposal. Let's go with the Vikings trading with the New England Patriots at number 3. And where are the Patriots? Damn it. Where are they? I know they're in here somewhere. Where are my Patriots? I can't find them. Atlanta, Baltimore. There they are. Okay, right next to the Vikings. Duh. So let's say they trade 11, 23, 108, their first next year for 3. Let's make the proposal. And the trade has been accepted. So the Vikings have moved up to 23. The Patriots now have 11, 23, 108, and Minnesota's first round pick next year. And the Vikings take the guy that they want, Drake May, the quarterback from North Carolina. Okay, so other people have thought the Cardinals are going to trade. But as I pointed out to you, um, I don't see why the Cardinals would do that. Why they have 6 pick. What did we go back to? They have 6 picks in the first 2 days. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 picks, almost 7, because their 7th pick is 104 in the 4th round. Um, Honestly, they don't need to trade out of it. And they're sitting here getting maybe the number one player on their board with their number one need. Their number one need being wide receiver. They have a chance to get an elite guy. Will Marvin Harrison and Marvin Harrison Jr. be the first father and son to ever go to the NFL Hall of Fame? I doubt it. So I don't think this is a good pick. I would take Rome Dunze here, but I'm not them. They're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. and kaboom, here we go. Now, that leaves Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze to the San Diego or the Los Angeles Chargers. They need receivers. They need pass catchers. Now the Chargers have the 37th pick. There'll be some good wide receivers there. What there is not is elite type pass catching tight ends in the second round, unless you count Ben Sinnott or Jaden McDaniel. Who's the other tight end? Um, Jatavian Sanders. I don't know, but I have a sneaky feeling that, again, the Chargers just need pass catchers. It doesn't really matter whether they're wide receivers or whether they're pass catchers. But honestly, I can't see them passing up on a tight end for a wide receiver. I think Rome Dunze goes to the Los Angeles Chargers, and they'll probably look to get a tight end or somebody else in the second round. Now comes the Giants. The Giants are going to be interesting. Do they really want a quarterback? They might have wanted Drake May, but they got leapfrogged by the Vikings. So now they're stuck here at 6. Do they make a deal to trade out, or do they stick and pick and take a quarterback who might be a little bit of a reach? Or do they simply take the best player on the board? They need wide receivers, they need tight cornerbacks. I think they already have two quarterbacks on the roster. The fact that they are talking up quarterbacks so much out of New York, I think indicates that's not the direction they're going to go. So I think they're going to go with Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver. Now Tennessee could potentially trade. They've got 7 and 38. They're likely to get a good receiver in the second round. They also could get a good offensive tackle. That's another one of their needs here. But here they have the pick of the litter. Everybody says they're going to go with Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. Let's just give that to them. Say they're going to stick and pick. Now, the question becomes, who does what at number 8? Again, number 8, their biggest need is edge. Dallas Turner's right there. Jared Verse is right there. Chop Robinson is right there. I think even, Rob Staten has Chop, Jared Verse, and Latu and Turner, all as first round picks. I think Atlanta doesn't do that. I think they're going to take Brock Bowers. I think they're going to trade the other tight end, what's his name, that they took a few years ago, who hasn't panned out. He's fast, he's big, he catches passes. They just invested all this money. And please, I forget the tight end's name. He's so insignificant. I think they're just going to take the best player on the board, which is Brock Bowers. Now Chicago is ready to trade. So what is Chicago going to do here? Well, I think the Raiders have somebody in mind. I think they have a quarterback that they want. And I think that they're going to trade up. So we're going to propose a trade here between the Raiders are going to come up to the Bears and they are going to offer 13.44 and probably their first next year for 9. Let's see if the Bears go for that. And they do. So the Raiders jump up. Who are they taking? They came up to take a quarterback. Did they come up to take JJ McCarthy? Did they come up to take JJ McCarthy? No, they didn't, because JJ McCarthy is a bum and he's not going to be a great quarterback in this league. They're going to take Michael Penix Jr., the deep passer, the guy I wanted for the Seahawks, but I just can't see him being at 16. I also don't think we have the juice to really get up to 9, which is where we would probably have to get to take him. So I expect the Raiders make a little trade. They move up to 9. They take the guy that they take the guy they have to take. The best quarterback left. The Jets are in win now mode. They need wide receivers. They need offensive tackles. They need safeties. They need tight ends. I don't like any of the wide receivers that are left. I think the first group of receivers, and I include Brock Bowers in this. Harrison, Odunze, Neighbors, and Bowers, they're just too good. They're too good. They're the top group. None of the other guys that are outside that group are worth taking. They have their pick of the litter on the edge. They have their pick of the litter in the tackles. I think I'm going to go with Rob Staten. He thinks Talise Fuaga is the best tackle in the draft. That's who they're going to take. Kaboom. That leaves the quarterback. That the Patriots expected and hoped to get when they traded down to number 11. They take J.J. McCarthy. Now, what do the Broncos do? Their needs are pretty obvious. They need a quarterback. Okay. That's what they need. Number one, they could take an edge. They could take an offensive lineman. They could take a value pick here. I don't think they do that. Now, could they afford to trade out of here? Yes, they could afford to trade out, but who are they going to trade with? Who needs an edge rusher? Well, could the Colts come up maybe and take one of the top edge rushers in this draft? The Colts have different needs. Let's do a proposed trade. Let's see if the Colts can come on up to where the Broncos are. And, the Broncos are going to need a few more picks as well. So let's do that. Let's say we're going to go with 15 and 46 to come up and get 12. And we're going to get 147 back from Denver. And the trade has been accepted. Kaboom. The Colts come up. They're going to take the first edge off the board. Who is Rob Staten's top? Chop Robinson is his top edge. So we're going to leapfrog. And we're going to go with, believe it or not, Chop Robinson. Now, this leaves Chicago, who also, they've solved their quarterback problem. They also need an edge. They got multiple edges here they can pick from. Is there anybody behind them that's going to want to come up and take one of these elite players? Because if you look at Staten's elite players board, his blue chip guys, Caleb Williams is gone. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. Roman Dunze is gone. Malik Neighbors is gone. Brock Bowers is gone. Chop Robinson is gone. Jared Verse, Troy Fatano, and Talise Fuaga are not gone. Now, if I was the Bears, I would go with an offensive lineman here. I would support my quarterback even more, but they have a fairly desperate need. They now have 113 and 44. They have a fairly desperate need at edge. They're going to look for an offensive lineman later in the draft. I say they go with Dallas Turner, the Alabama edge. That leaves the New Orleans Saints at 14. They probably want a quarterback. There isn't one to take, so they're going to stick and pick. They need an offensive lineman. They will take Troy Fatanu because he's better than these other guys that are rated ahead of him by the mock draft people. Remember, the mock draft guys, the guys that are so called experts in the media, they always end up being wrong about how general managers actually have guys evaluated. The Broncos, well, look, they traded down. They got an extra second round pick. I think they picked up, 46. They got a second round pick back. They're still going to go quarterback. They're going to take their guy. They're going to take Bo Nix, and nobody is really going to give them a hard time for that. That leaves the Seahawks in a tough situation because as it stands now, all of the blue chip guys are off the board. Most of the other first round pick guys are off the board. Now, you could get really interested here. You could go with Liatu Latu. You could go with Jared Verse. You could go with any one of the offensive tackles. But what the hell do we need an edge guy for? We have three guys: Daryl Turner, Uchenna Nwosu, and Boye Mafe, who've all had 9 or 10 sacks. And you have a guy you just spent a second round pick, the 40th pick in the draft on, and Derek Hall, who you haven't developed yet. And you don't know what the new coaches think. So you're going to add another edge guy who may or may not be great to that. You don't need to. You don't need to. So, who might want an edge or who might want one of these top flight offensive tackles and come up? Well, one of the trading partners that's always mentioned is the Packers. I don't think it's the Packers. I think it's actually going to be the Eagles that are going to trade up with the Seahawks. So, we're going to go with the Eagles and we're going to go with Seattle. And they're going to trade 22 and 50 for 16. Let's see if this goes. Actually, they're not going to give us 50. They're going to give us 53. Let's see if that goes through. The trade has been accepted. We have flip-flopped, and the Eagles have come up, but they did not come up to take Jared Verse. They did not come up to take Jackson Powers Johnson. They came up to take the top corner in the draft, Terrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell. Who is the best one? Quinyon Mitchell. So we're going to go with Quinyon Mitchell is going to be the guy that they take at 16 because they want to make sure they get one of the top corners. They wanted to leapfrog the Jags, who are next in line to take another corner, and they're going to take Terrion Arnold, the other first-round corner. So both first-round corners are gone boom, boom in the middle of the round. The Jags probably had thoughts about doing something else, but if they're going to get a top flight corner, there's only a couple of them in this draft. They had to do it right there at 17. So they're going to stick and pick. Now, what's going to happen? The Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have some interesting needs. They need offensive tackles. They need defensive tackles. But there's a guy here that they can't really resist. They could use a wide receiver. They could use a corner. They're going to go with Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle from Texas. They're going to break the Rams' heart because the Rams wanted to replace. They wanted to replace Aaron Donald with Byron Murphy. They're not going to get to. The Bengals are going to, even though their bigger need is on offense, they got to fill offense, defense. There's not many defensive tackles in this draft. That's the way they're going to go. That leaves the Rams may very well try to leapfrog, like with the Jaguars. They might try to leapfrog the Bengals to get Byron Murphy, but they're stuck there. They're going to be okay. They're going to take the edge. They're going to take Jared Verse. That's fine. I think now we come up to the Steelers. Everybody knows the Steelers are looking for offensive linemen. I think that's the way to go. I'm going to go with the big J.C. Latham, the big tackle from Alabama. Same thing here. We're now looking at the Dolphins. The Dolphins need guards. They need tackles. There's a bunch of tackles on there. Oli Fashanu is there. I don't think they hesitate. Kaboom, they take that. Now the Seahawks are at 22. They'd probably like to trade back again, but I don't think there's anybody that wants to come up for any of the players they're going to take. So now they're stuck in no man's land. The Patriots have taken a quarterback. All of the top quarterbacks are off the board. The best player out there is a wide receiver, Brian Thomas. What the hell do they need one of those for? There's a bunch of tackles. There's Johnny Newton. Liatu Latu is sitting out there. And you know what? The same thing applies that applied before. They don't need an edge. They have 4 edges on this team that they've invested a lot in. Second round picks, 3 second round picks, and a guy that they signed for big money in free agency. To draft a guy with a serious injury history at 22 in the first round, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they need to take that risk. The Seahawks are not serious contenders. So what are they going to do? What would I do? What I would do is invest in the future. I would invest in a guy that has star potential. I would invest in a guy who I think can make this team a Super Bowl contender again in a couple years at the most critical position in the NFL, which is quarterback. Well, all the quarterbacks are gone, aren't they? Well, no, they're not. There is Spencer Rattler. Oh, look, he's rated 115 by Tony Pauline of Sportskeeda. Where is he rated? He's rated as a second round pick by Rob Staten. Okay, where is he on the NFL mock draft database? Let's see if we can. Is he even in the first 2 rounds? Is he even here? Do we even see him? No, 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 no. Where is he? Where's our quarterback? Spencer Rattler, 78, third round pick. Let me tell you, Spencer Rattler is going to go in the late first or early second round. He is. He is. You don't believe me that Penix is good? You don't believe me that Rattler is good? Let's replay you once again. Let's replay once again what RG3 has to say, Robert Griffin III has to say about Spencer Rattler.
For the quarterback position, I think the steal of the draft is going to be Spencer Rattler. When you turn on this man's tape, he has arm talent out the wazoo. Go watch any of his games, but specifically go watch the Florida game and watch him make big throw after big throw. Like, he never complained about the offensive line being leaky. He just found ways to make plays and get the ball to Xavier Legette, a guy that was at Oklahoma, was there because he was a big-time recruit as a five-star player, who has the arm talent, who has the accuracy, who has the pre-snap and post-snap ability, and played in a system at South Carolina that forced him to make those craved and wanted for 3-level throws that they use in the NFL off of play action. He is showing teams that the player that he was coming out of high school is actually going to translate better to him being a better pro quarterback than he ever was a college quarterback.
Okay, so we're going back to the draft. We're taking a quarterback. We're surprising everybody. John and Pete, used to love to surprise people. John probably still does. Spencer Rattler, the quarterback. Now, I'd ideally like to trade down to 27, 28, 29 early, but I think Rattler goes right here. If this is the way the draft falls, if Michael Penix is off the board at 9, let's say, to the Raiders in a trade, wow, you got no choice. You got no choice. You can afford to trade down maybe once, but not twice. That leaves us now with the New England Patriots. Their biggest needs were quarterback and wide receiver. They got their quarterback in J.J. McCarthy when to trade down to number 11. Now they're going to take Brian Thomas, the LSU wide receiver, to fulfill their other biggest need. Then we drop into the Dallas Cowboys. What are the Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? What do they need? They need offensive tackles. They need offensive guards. There is some talk that the guy that they have now, the guard that they have, they're going to move him out to tackle. But one of the players that is really, really liked for them because he can play all along the offensive line is Graham Barton out of Duke, is highly regarded for the Cowboys. He's targeted there. We're going to give them Graham Barton of Duke. That leaves the Packers. Guess what? The Packers resisted the temptation to trade up. They need a linebacker or corner. They need an offensive guard. They need an offensive tackle. They're just going to take the tackle. They're going to take Amarius Mims. Now, another thing I'm going to remind you of, yes, today the Tennessee Titans, no, not the Titans, the Eagles signed a offensive tackle, but I don't think that's going to really dramatically affect the draft. Now we come to Tampa Bay. Well, what does Tampa Bay need? They need an edge. Look, Laiatu Latu is a lot better risk at 26, right about where he's evaluated. Injury wise, he goes to the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think Tampa should be supporting um, Baker Mayfield after all the money they just put into him, but I think they go for the edge guy because that's their biggest need. Now we look at the Arizona Cardinals. They went wide receiver with their first pick. Their second pick, biggest pick need is defensive tackle. Let's go with Johnny Newton. The Buffalo Bills, they're also looking for wide receivers, safeties, edges. Is there a safety worth taking at this point? And the answer is no, there isn't. So what are they going to do? Probably let's go with Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. He's a deep threat. Josh Allen will love throwing him the ball. Now we come to the Detroit Lions. They could use an edge. They could use a corner. They could use. Do they want to go with the third tier corners, or do they want to go the second tier corners, or do they want to go with some of the third tier edge guys? Uh, it's hard to tell here. Safety's a need. Corner, I don't know. I suspect they're just going to go with Nate Wiggins, the corner. Baltimore Ravens, wide receiver, offensive guard, edge. This is where I again see them taking a tackle that might be converted into a guard. Tyler Guyton. The 49ers team needs, I think, are going to change. I think they're definitely going to change before draft day because I don't think Brandon Ayuk is coming back. I think they're going to have to prioritize wide receiver. I think they go for Xavier Worthy. He's not as physical as the guys they have, but he's different. I think he goes there. The Kansas City Chiefs, they need wide receivers. They need corners. Offensive tackle is a need. I say they just go with Tony Franklin. These second round receivers come off in the first round. Okay, boom. Now we come up to pick number 33, the Carolina Panthers. They're trying to get all the support they can for their quarterback, Bryce Young from last year, the number one overall pick who really struggled. Should have taken CJ Stroud. Absolutely should have taken CJ Stroud. But they didn't. And the question is now, what do they do? Well, there could be some teams that might want to trade up to this pick, but who and for what? I see them. They've invested a lot in the offensive line. What they didn't do was take any, really get any wide receivers. So I think they're going to have to go with Lad McConkey. He's a very well thought of receiver. I say he's the first pick in the second round. Now we come back to the New England Patriots. They've gone quarterback and wide receiver with their first two picks. Their other needs are cornerback, offensive tackle, tight end. Again, they could take a corner here. The offensive tackles are more valuable. I've got Jordan Morgan of Arizona going there. Now, once again, cashing in the Arizona Cardinals. They went wide receiver. They went defensive tackle. What else could they use? Cornerback. How about Kool-Aid? Well, Cooper DeJean is actually a safety slash corner. Let's go see who Rob Staten has as the top rated safety slash corner guys. He really likes Tyler Nubin. Really likes Tyler Nubin over Cooper DeJean. So let's go defense. Let's go safety. Wow, Tyler Nubin is 125. I don't think they're going to go for that pick there. All right, let's take a look at what we have. Cornerback makes more sense, I guess. Kool-Aid McKinstry goes there. So they've gone offense, defense. I think their next couple picks will be offense. Washington Redskins now. They got their quarterback. They also need an offensive tackle. Guess what? You've got Kingsley Sumatia there. The Chargers. Well, they took a gamble on taking they took a wide receiver in the first round. Now they can come back and get the best tight end in the draft, Jatavian Sanders. Boom, he goes to them. They've got two pass catchers now. And the Tennessee Titans, they took Joe Alt, the conservative pick, the offensive tackle at number 7. And now they come back and they're going to look at, well, what are we going to look at? Offensive linemen, linebackers, centers, edges. How about they go for a weapon, a fast guy, Devontae Walker from North Carolina. I personally like Xavier Leggetti a lot from South Carolina. I don't know where he's rated, but he's going to be one of these second round guys. Now we're back to the Panthers. They went offense. I suspect now they go defense. They've gotten a lot of good talent. They go edge. They go Darius Robinson. The Redskins once again are picking two offensive players in a row. Who's the best defensive player on the draft? It's Cooper DeJean. We're not going to do that. We're going to go with Braylon Trice, the pass rusher from Washington. The Green Bay Packers, they have a couple of different needs. Offensive tackle, they filled that. Corner, there's not really any great ones here. They could go with an offensive guard. They could go with another edge. They can take the pick of the litter in linebackers. Let's just give them Junior Colson out of Michigan. Now the Houston Texans just recently traded for another wide receiver. They're not going to take a wide receiver. They're probably going to look at inside offensive line guys. Jackson Powers Johnson has waited too long. That'll help support their interior defensive or offensive line. The Falcons surprised us by going tight end in the first round. So they're going to go down to the best edge who's available, Chris Braswell, in the second round. The Bears also went quarterback and edge. Now they can come back and take an offensive lineman. A guy I really like, Cooper Beebe, is very strong. I'm going to go with him there. The Saints they need guards, they need tackles. They went tackle, they went guard. I say they're going to come back and go tackle after going guard. Boom, boom. Now, the Broncos have a chance to pick. They got this extra pick by moving back. They need a defensive tackle. They're not going to take the guys that are there, I don't think. They could use another wide receiver. They could use another edge. How about Keon Coleman, the wide receiver, to support their brand new quarterback? The Giants, they took Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver, in the first round. They also have needs at cornerback. They're going to go take Cooper DeJean, corner/safety. The Jaguars got a corner in the first round, Terrion Arnold. Now we're in the second round. They could use a wide receiver. Is there anybody worth taking? Well, it doesn't really matter if there is, because they're going to reach and they're going to take Roman Wilson, the wide receiver out of Michigan. The Bengals went defensive tackle in the first round. They're going to go offensive guard or offensive tackle here in the second round. There's not really too many choices. Ooh, wow. We've really picked these guys clean, but we're going to go with an interior offensive lineman, Christian Haynes. Now, the Eagles are up. The Eagles got traded up to get their biggest need, the corner, in the first round. Now they're coming back. They also have a need at linebacker. If you look at the linebackers, there is a stud out there, a guy who's downrated as a linebacker because of his injury history, but this guy's a stud, super talent. Peyton Wilson goes to the Eagles. They can afford to take the risk. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Steelers took an offensive tackle in the first round. They could take a center or a guard or somebody like that in the second round, or they could take a corner or a wide receiver. I think, again, you look at their history, there just isn't the offensive tackle talent left, or centers. There is one guy, if I remember, that is really universally liked. Oh, yeah, Zach Center, offensive guard from Michigan. Great. They got a guard and they got a tackle with their first two picks. Their top priority, fix that offensive line. It's pretty well fixed. Now, the Rams, what do the Rams need? They need a corner. They need an edge. They got their edge. They got Jared Verse. Now they're going to come back with Ennis Rakestraw, go for corner. Now the Seahawks are up. And the guy that I would have wanted to take there is Zach Zinter, but I don't think he fits. I don't think he's there. So now the Seahawks, we have to look at their other needs: guard, center, linebacker, defensive tackle. If you look at the offense, we already went quarterback on offense. If you look at the offensive players, it's wide receivers. We don't need them. Isaiah Adams is a good offensive guard. Javian Cohen is there. Matt Gonzalez, who is probably more of a third round pick, is there. Theo Johnson, Penn State. Zach Frazier, the offensive center, is a really good player, a guy that a lot of people like. But if you go to the overall evaluations, the defensive side of the ball is where the talent is. So what are we going to do? We're going to take a flyer. We're going to take a flyer on an inside guy, Rook Orohoro, who is a talented, big, fast interior guy, the kind of guy the Seahawks have talked about for a long time. He's going to go to us at 53, and we're going to look at an offensive lineman with our third round pick. Cleveland Browns are up. They need a defensive tackle. They're going to go with just McKinley Jackson. I believe DT is probably their top need. They're just going to go with McKinley Jackson. The Dolphins went offensive tackle in the first round. They could use an offensive guard. They could also use a wide receiver. So I'm going to give them Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver from Florida. Dallas went offensive lineman with the first pick. They also have needs at center, linebacker. I think they take a chance. I think this guy has dropped dramatically. I got roasted for not taking Edgerrin Cooper in as the first linebacker off the board by this nutty dude a couple weeks ago. They're just going to take Edgerrin Cooper, the local product from Texas A&M. Now we're back to Tampa. Tampa got Liatu Latu. They went defense with the first pick. Let's say they go offense with the next pick. They're just going to go get Jalen McMillan, the wide receiver from Washington. He's going to fill out that need for them. Green Bay Packers. What do the Green Bay Packers need? Well, they got a tackle. They got a linebacker. They also have needs at guard, safety. But you know what? There are two guys on the board who haven't gone yet, and they're very underrated. Couple of tight ends. We're going to go with Ben Sinnott, the tight end, the guy that everybody thinks he's this year's Sam Laporta, the underrated second-round tight end. Let me tell you, Jordan Love can use that. That's what's going to happen. Now, the Houston Texans, and again, I don't do trades in the second round because I don't know who's going to trade for what. You know, the studying the depth of needs of these teams is really difficult to do. If you go back to again, they need a defensive tackle. They got Jackson Powers Johnson in the first round. Probably a guy they didn't desperately need. They needed an offensive guard though, so why not get a center who can play guard? I think they take a chance on Tavondre Sweat, a unique player in this draft, gigantic with all of his character problems. Probably should wait till the third round, but boom, there he goes. The Buffalo Bills went with wide receiver in the first round. They come back and go with his safety in the second round. Are we going to give him? Yeah, we'll give him Kalen Bullock. We won't go with Rob's board. The Detroit Lions took a corner with their first pick. They could still use an edge guy, but I don't know that there's anybody in here worth taking edge wise. So who do we go with? There's Isaac. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, probably I think the better player is Chris Jenkins of Michigan, but he's an interior defensive lineman. Let's just take a risk on the edge guy that they can pair with Aiden Hutchinson. Now, the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens had wide receiver, offensive guard as their needs. They went with Tyler Guyton. Are there any wide receivers left to take here? Well, as a matter of fact, there's Jalen Polk of Washington, NFL quality receiver. Go pick him. Give Lamar another target. The 49ers took the wide receiver in the first round because in this scenario, they've traded away Brandon Ayuk. They also have needs at cornerback. Why not take TJ Tampa or Kamari Lassiter? We'll go with Lassiter. And Kansas City lucks out because they needed a wide receiver and a corner as their top two needs. They get TJ Tampa. Kaboom. That is the end of the 2-round mock draft. So multiple trades. The Vikings come up and take Drake May. The Raiders come up and get Michael Penix. The Patriots go down and take J.J. McCarthy. The Colts go up and take Chop Robinson. The Bears drop down and take Dallas Turner. The Broncos drop down and take Bo Nix. The Eagles come up and trade with the Seahawks and give us one of their 2 second-round picks to get the pick of the litter in the cornerback department because there's only 2 elite first-round corners. They go back-to-back. The Bengals luck out and get Byron Murphy. Jared Verse goes to L.A., which the Rams really wanted. J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle, goes to the Steelers. Oli Fashanu goes to the Dolphins to try to toughen them up on the inside. The Seahawks shock everyone by taking the third round quarterback at number 22 in the first round. You know why? Because he's not going to get past the 40th pick. I promise you that. And everybody in there that wants out there that wants to make fun of me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, well, just watch. Watch a week from tonight. Watch a week from tonight, and let's see. Let's see what they do. Let's see what. Well, I don't know what the Seahawks are going to do, but watch what happens with Spencer Rattler. Brian Thomas, the wide receiver, goes to the Patriots with the extra pick they picked up. Graham Barton, the offensive guard tackle center, goes to the Cowboys. Amarius Mims goes to the Packers. Liatu Latu goes to the Tampa Bay. Johnny Newton goes to the Arizona Cardinals. I probably could have done better with the Cardinals. Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver, goes to the Bills. Nate Wiggins, the cornerback, goes from Clemson, goes to the Lions. Tyler Guyton, offensive lineman, goes to the Ravens. Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver, goes to the 49ers because I do think the 49ers are going to trade Brandon Ayuk, which means they're probably going to get another pick in here somewhere. Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon, goes to Kansas City. Finally, the Panthers get involved. They get Ladd McConkey, and later on at 39, they get Darius Robinson, the edge. Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle, goes to the New England Patriots. Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback, goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Kingsley Sumatria, or Sumata, I call him Sumatria because he reminds me of coffee. The offensive tackle from BYU, the name. Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, goes to the Chargers. Devontae Walker, the wide receiver, goes to they missed out on the first group of wide receivers. They cash in on the second, the Tennessee Titans. Braylon Trice, the edge, goes to Washington. Junior Colson, first linebacker off the board. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center, goes to the Houston Texans. Why? Just because he's the best player on the board. The Falcons passed. They passed on the edge guys. They had their pick of the litter of the edge guys. At number 8, they took they took Brock Bowers, the tight end. They're going to run some 2 tight end sets. They take Chris Braswell, the edge. Cooper Beebe, the offensive guard from Kansas State, goes to Chicago. Roger Rosengarten, the tackle, goes to the Saints. They get a guard, Troy Fatanu, and Roger Rosengarten, the offensive tackle. Or they could get 2 tackles. Those guys could both be tackles. Keon Coleman goes to the Broncos, a wide receiver to go with their new quarterback, Bo Nix. Cooper DeJean goes to the Giants. Why? Just because the Giants are a nondescript nothing team. And I didn't know where else to put Cooper DeJean. Roman Wilson, a wide receiver, goes to the Jags. Christian Haynes, the offensive guard, to the Bengals. Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, goes to the Eagles. Zach Zinter goes to the Steelers. Ennis Rakestraw, corner, goes to the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks take Rook Orohoro because the inside offensive talent was not there, and the Seahawks have indicated pretty clearly they don't want to take a guard high. And I heard Pat Kerwin talking a lot today on Sirius NFL Radio about how it's not worth taking guards earlier than the third round. It just isn't. McKinley Jackson, defensive tackle, next best defensive tackle off the board, goes to the Browns. This is a situation where the Browns might leapfrog the Seahawks somehow. Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver, goes to the Dolphins just because the Dolphins, there wasn't really another really strong offensive lineman to go there. Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker, goes to the Cowboys. Jalen McMillan, the wide receiver, goes to Tampa Bay. Offense, defense, offense. That's how they go. Ben Sinnott, the tight end, outstanding tight end, maybe the Sam Laporta of this draft. Devondre Sweat, yeah, he's a big risk, but at 59, it's not that much of a price to pay. May as well jump in on the most unique player in the draft. Kalen Bullock, the safety from Buffalo, goes to Buffalo. I don't know why, just because, safety. The other thing is there's no running backs worth taking in the first 2 rounds. There's barely any corners, and there sure as shit aren't any safeties. So I'm doing this kind of based on what people are telling me other teams' needs are, but I don't. If I was the GM, I would not take a corner in the first 2 rounds of this draft, and I would not take a running back in the first 2 rounds of this draft. And I would only take an interior offensive lineman if his name was Jackson Powers Johnson or Troy Fatanu. And I had a big need there, and I already had my quarterback, which the Seahawks didn't. Jalen Polk, wide receiver, goes to the Ravens. Kamari Lassiter, the corner, goes to the 49ers. And TJ Tampa, another corner, goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, if the first two picks the Seahawks make end up being Spencer Rattler and Ruka Rojo, are you going to freak out? Are you going to have a problem? Are you going to like menstruate? What are you going to do? But that's exactly what the Seahawks need to do. Yeah, go Detroit Lions. It's exactly what the Seahawks need to do. And if the draft falls that way, I think they will be very, very fortunate to get a guy like that. I think Penix is not going to make it to 16. I think he's gone long before that. And so I think the smart thing to do is trade down as many picks as you can. Um, and I mean, some of these, like, oh, yeah, Green Bay could give us their second and their third, one of their seconds and one of their thirds. Yeah, they could, but why? Who are they coming up for? The value where the Seahawks pick at 16 is going to be in the corners and maybe one edge guy. And those aren't desperate needs for the Packers. The offensive lineman, there'll be a good one there at 25. So I don't think the Packers are trading up with the Seahawks. But I think the Eagles trade could make some sense if they want to get the first corner off the board. And there's only 2 first round corners, at least according to Rob Staten, who I tend to agree with. So that's the way I think it's going to go. You can criticize me all you want. Leave comments below on the Seahawk Boy Mike page or Seahawk Boys page rather than just Seahawk Boy Mike. And, we'll wait and see. We will see what happens a week from tonight. I hope the Seahawks do not do the conventional thing. They've done the conventional thing the last 2 years, and they have a couple of C plus B minus drafts to show for it. Let's do something exciting, spectacular, and different. Let's go invest in a guy who has tons of physical quarterback talents and who probably wants to win very badly to prove a lot of people wrong. Spencer Rattler is a good football player. He may end up being a great football player in the NFL. Like RG3 said, his skills may actually fit better in the pros than they do in college. Can't afford to miss out on. We've missed out on quarterbacks the last 2 years. Can't afford to do it again. All right, we'll be back when we're back to talk about something else that might be important. Please don't re-sign Rashad Penny. Please. See you later.